Hey everyone, it's Maydad here from Y&V Health and Wellness. And tonight, like every Tuesday night, I'm joined with another health expert who's going to be talking to us about health and wellness. Tonight, I'm joined by Emmeline from Be in Body. We're going to be talking about yoga today, and the topic that we're going to be discussing is the body and the mind. Welcome to tonight's Zoom, Emmeline. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Medad, for having me tonight and to have that chat together. I'm really excited to talk about the mind, the body, which is a passion of mine.
Wonderful. And if you don't already know, you guys, Emmeline is the yoga coach and health wellness coach who's studied yoga for 10 years. She's been teaching yoga for 10 years. She's been teaching stop Pilates for 13 years. She's a Reiki practitioner, and amongst a lot of other things. She does a lot of stuff in her practice. She coaches here in Bondi Beach. She's got her own personal studio. And at the end of this Zoom session, if any of you want to know a little bit more about the work that she does and want to get in contact with her, I'm sure she can give you links to look up and contacts and stuff like that. But Emmeline is also our coach, in-house coach for yoga with our Footprints retreat that we've been doing in our second year, which we run 2 or 3 day retreats. And then in our Nimbus retreat, which we're doing a half-day retreat that is going to be on this Saturday, 7th of December, at Bondi Beach. But Emmeline, you've done so many things. You've got so many qualifications. Can you share with some of our audience and let them know a little bit about your journey and some of the education and things in your background?
Yeah, so I'm originally from France, as you probably can hear.
Yes.
Yes, I moved in Asia when I was quite young, when I was 23, and I was traveling there. Then I met this amazing Pilates instructor who was French as well and was hosting international certification. So I decided to enroll myself. I did a class with her, and I really felt in love with the movement practice and what it was also bringing to myself, which was sense of grounding, feeling good in my body, and feeling good in, I guess, with my mental health as well. So that's my journey started with Pilates, and a few years later down the road, like everyone, had a stress in life and I had a burnout. So, and from there, I started and dive a little bit more into yoga practice, which really, really, really helped me to actually kind of come back into a more grounded base, I would say. And as I was already, so it wasn't my own practice first. I didn't want to teach especially. Then I really love helping other people. And as I was already teaching Pilates and practicing yoga for me, I decided to, just follow a training and becoming certified to be able to teach people a little bit. So I like to blend different practice together because I think each individual is different and needs different things. So I work quite a lot one-on-one, semi-private, and small group as well. And I love to also join retreat like yours. And yeah, so this is a little bit, a bit of my background and a bit what I like as well.
Now, we love having you here. And obviously, the people that come to visit us and do the retreat always have an amazing experience with you at the retreat. As some of us people don't know, but with your session especially, what's so really good about it, obviously you facilitating it the way you do, because every practitioner is different in the way they facilitate. Some are very aggressive, some are very pushy, and some are very gentle. But I like the way that you have a nice flow to your stuff. You incorporate your breath work and what do you call it? And it's on the beach. We do it just before sunrise, and it's just a beautiful experience. We go down to the beach at just before 6. It's just before it gets dark. We start at the beach, and then sunlight comes up. We do the yoga session, and then we're back at Bondi Boxing Gym for the human movement workout. But Emmeline, what do you feel like really got you into this line of work, and where are you working on? What are you working on these days? I know you're doing all different things. You've done Reiki that we spoke about earlier on.
Yeah.
If you could share that with some of our audience, that would really be helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, so what got me into that work? I've always been passionate by movement. So and I also love helping people. So I guess I find like on the way of like following different training, you know, as I mentioned before, it slowly built up for me, and like I started to feel yeah, just really helping people was great. You know, the Reiki, for example, like was something that's been an add on to my practice and what I already do. So just like, yeah, love of movement, helping people. And can we restart maybe?
Yeah. So I was just asking you, Emmeline, what do you love most about some of the great work that you do? I know you've been doing, we talked about you doing Reiki, we talked about you doing Stotts Pilates and yoga. I know you talk to people and help them with modalities, and we've spoken about you doing individual groups and
Mm.
individuals and big groups like you do with my retreats and stuff like that. What do you love most about what you do?
What I love most about what I do is I really love to guide people through their own practice and help them to discover different aspects of themselves as well. Really help them to be in touch with themselves, their body, and yeah, and just love sharing also the knowledge that I can have. But I also like to see and empower people in that way, which like they are their own guide at the end. I'm just maybe here to, you know, bring some knowledge, but like they are the one who have the key to make any change in their life. And it's nice to, yeah, I think it's beautiful journey to observe people changing,
Yeah.
evolving, and being in touch with themselves.
It's nice to see people be empowered by different things, whether it be
Yeah,
dance, with any form of human movement. It allows them to feel a sense of uh, confidence, a sense of better self-esteem, in the way
yeah,
they carry themselves. And yoga has always been one of those practices, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's always, to me, come over as a really nice piece of human movement, regardless of whether there's different styles of yoga, as we know, there's one that focuses on breath work, a lot more breath work, a lot on just static movements, a lot more a gymnastics movement. I've got a friend who does more gymnastic-y sort of yoga, where they hold
yeah,
a lot of planches and poses and A-frames and handstands and stuff like that,
yeah.
which is very different. But it really does. Can you share with us what you feel it really as an um, um, a human movement that it is in improving a person's awareness, a person like awareness through movement, and that how you feel that can improve a person's self-awareness, and how a person that comes and trains with you for a long time, how that they embody that. If you had some incredible experiences with clients?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working with some client privately for maybe 5 to 6 years so far.
A
And
long
I
time.
really see them evolving. Like they started maybe more by the physical practice as well. Then they connected, they realized that the physical was helping them to do a lot of things. Then they started to wanted to do more a little bit, or helping themselves through a bit more, just being connected to themselves through maybe I guess being more mindful. Maybe they started by movement, you know, and they started to incorporate other things like mindful, like eating, or like just using their breath in a different
Yes.
way, targeting different. So I guess when they started, like it always sometimes start by the movement or the practice. As
Yes.
a for yoga, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they all of a sudden it's something that it's hard to explain sometimes, like, but yeah, it's something that people will feel in themselves, or say, and they will be interested to discover a little bit more, and the more they embody, I guess, the practice, and I guess the more they uh, I don't know, it's
Would
like
you would you say the more they the more they evolve in
yeah,
different? Because I think it's a little bit like dance. People start
Yeah.
dancing. My daughter started dancing with contemporary. Now she's did acro. She went to the gymnastics side. Now she's doing ballet. Before they did jazz, fusion. And as she does it, I see this little person evolving and evolving. And I reflect on all my studies, and maybe you can relate to this with yoga and that, like you said, they might start with breath work, they might start with gentle movement, and before you know it, they drift into the spiritual side of it, where they want to learn a little bit more about India, or they want to learn a little bit about they want to do different courses like Vipassana and all the other stuff. And it really does, it's almost like just a seed has been planted, and it just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I see, for me, some transformation that I've seen is I've seen people coming very agitated, where they were doing movement and pushing it without being really present. Then what they learn is to really cultivate presence with themselves, so they can slow down as well, and when they start slowing down, other things happen for them, like, yeah, being more in touch with themselves, and and learning to feel that sometimes live in a world where everything goes so fast, right? Or sometimes people don't realize that they're like quite agitated, or quite the nervous system. I work a lot with the nervous system in restorative practice, and
Beautiful.
yoga is something that naturally helps the nervous system to regulate, because you, through certain pose in you start to target some nerve, like the vagus nerve that we call
Yes,
as, that start to help you to regulate your nervous system.
that's
Passing,
amazing.
yeah, and going to what we call rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes,
That's where you can start to integrate any experience, because you have time to slow down, and it's a
yeah.
process. Sometimes it's very natural for people. Here I'm describing it a little bit more, and sometimes people will do some exercise, and at the end of the class, when they are on their mat, they will feel that sense of like, okay, calm, peacefulness, and but through that, yeah, moment of calm and peacefulness, that's where they really have the possibility to, yeah, to be very present with themselves, and to maybe, yeah, developing more awareness, as we said before, of
Yes.
of the mind, of their own experience, and so be able to also integrate their own experience.
Yeah, I think that is incredible, the way, like, in what you said. You talk about your environment at home, your environment in the world, your
Yeah.
workplace, your environment in your relationship, but your environment within you, like within your awareness within yourself of what you're doing. I give an example. Like, I feel like sometimes people look at yoga as just a really gentle, oh, I'm not going to do yoga. But what I don't realize, sometimes you just need to slow down. And you tapped on something really interesting, which really has really been a real eye-opener for me when I first got into behavioral science and that. And that is, and I guess resetting the vagus nerve and knowing how important it is, how much of an important role it plays in our body, in the
Mm.
ability to override our central nervous system. And as you said, be in a rest and digest mode, rather than being and tapping into your parasympathetic state, rather than being in your sympathetic state as being on a go all the time and stuff like that. And as a person who runs my business and is always running around and stuff like that, I'm always searching for that elusive moment to regulate and reset my vagus nerve. And I gotta kid you, I tell you, I kid you not, Emmeline. Sometimes I drive my car and here's my water. And I've done it twice today. And
Yeah.
I gargle the water for about a minute, and that's a great way of setting my neighbor's vagus nerve. I
Yeah.
hum for a minute, that sets my vagus
You
nerve.
do. Yeah.
Go to the grass, and I stand on the grass, I try and get some grounding, whatever it may be. There's so many different methods and techniques, and yoga is just one of those beautiful
Yeah.
practices that, when, like you said, when you stay at it for such a long time, even if it's just half an hour or 15 minutes, before you got to the floor, when you get up off the floor, it's a completely different feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And
Yes.
also bringing just like that, yeah, that centerness inside you. That, like, as you mentioned, it's beautiful the way finding little moments in your day to just kind of like, helping your nervous system to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic, just with few technique, of resetting the vagus nerve, like you mentioned right now. And and sometimes like, yeah, it's like yoga is a beautiful way to do it. There is many ways to do it with also different technique, as you mentioned as well. And yeah, I think like that's what people also discover, like when they start yoga, or like they can't understand what's happening, but it's happening because it's happening in the body, because they
It
connect
is.
to themselves.
And,
And really,
it's happening in the mind too, I think,
yes,
I
mind
think
body like together.
sometimes people, and tell me how you feel about this, they're looking for the
Mhm.
good balance and they don't realize what the good balance is because they're so into just going for a run, going for a swim, just doing something physical, physical, physical. But there is no downtime of actually regulating the vagus nerve and allowing themselves to look within, like yoga, like
Yeah,
meditation, like uh
yeah,
breath work and that. And look, I think there's a huge difference between using different forms of breath work. Wim Hof has its own form and it has its own benefits. And then you've got this breathing, this slow control breathing, like box breathing, and different forms of breathing techniques, like you talk about nasal breathing, all that stuff. And I think they all serve their purpose. And it's like you say, yoga. It almost like
mm.
it's a mind and body experience that really.
Yeah. It's really, as the title, as whatever, like the title of the interview today, like uniting the body and the mind. Like
Yes,
yoga is really, like something will really help you to like kind of like reconnect and reunite if you feel a bit that the head and the body are not connected together. I think yoga and
yes.
a physical practice as well, it just really just help you to, yeah, recenter.
Yeah, I
Recenter.
think I think I think even um yeah, like even talking to you, Emmeline, or even like the word yoga, just the thought of it, of words, certain
Yeah.
words like God, certain
Mm.
words like love, certain words like peace, it kind of stops you for a second and allows you to practice or embody.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself, mindfulness, and
Yeah.
I think I'm talking on my own behalf, not anyone else's, but for me, it allows me to practice or acknowledge mindfulness. And I think that's such an important part. Tell me, do you have any specific routines or any specific things that you like to do every day, being a yoga coach and that?
Yeah, I do different movement practice depending on how I feel. I might start my day a bit more still and with a bit of breath work. I usually love to have breath work during the day. I will move every day, like whatever it can be. If I'm feeling sometimes that there is a lot of like, sometimes thought in my mind, for example, I just go for a mindful walk, what I call a mindful walk, because like I'm going to go and have a walk and my brain can realign a little bit and rebalance. And that's
Yes,
then after that, I can sit a bit more and start using a bit of different breath work, or like a few yoga poses that I love to do just to open up a bit my body and start my day and bring energy as well. But really, my practice is not like it's not very static. I mean, I have things that I do every day, definitely like some pose and things like that. But I really try to wake up and see how I feel on the day because we are like the weather human being.
yes, it's
We
true.
can
Yeah.
and so it's good to be what I love to develop, it's a certain flexibility in my practice. It's
Mm.
to really like allowing myself to drift to what I need on the day and what I feel like doing. So I'm also dancing. So I do sometimes a little bit of a dance and like
That
to
is
raise.
so good, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. And dancing is like a rhythm. So if I feel that, it's very hard for me to focus, concentrate, or I feel like, yeah, I'm feeling heavy, shaking.
Yes,
Shaking the body will just really help to like a bit like in an energetic way to shift the energy, to shift the day, as we could say. Like it's like, oh, I really feel heavy. Sometimes we are able to feel this type of feeling, and so yeah, my practice will be very different depending how I feel. But yeah, breath work, definitely movement, and a little bit of rhythm dance will always be included into my day.
how could you not deny that? That's beautiful. Tell me, I know you studied Reiki and that, and you're a practitioner. Can you tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about your experience as a Reiki with Reiki and some of the stuff and work that you've done?
Yeah. So Reiki came into my life at first when I was really in a time where I needed to be, I guess, I needed to receive. I give a
Mm.
lot in my work, and like few times during the past 10 years, I had moments where I was like, oh, maybe I had to learn to balance as well, like every human being. So that was part of like, and so every practice that I develop in my life, it's usually a practice that first came into my life because I needed it. So Reiki came into my life in a moment of needs, and so I decided to follow a training because when I received Reiki, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it really helped me to just feel a bit more clarity in a moment where it was a bit hard to see it, and like it was a beautiful experience, very, very feeling light, in terms of like, and grounded as well. So what happened with the Reiki? So when I decided to learn and like giving Reiki now, for me, it's also a way to receive, because what you give is what you receive.
Yes.
Also allow me to really understanding what I will call boundaries with people, because when we're in a field where we are a lot with people, sometimes it can be hard to put that, to put those boundaries and like giving, receiving, or like finding balance
Yes.
into that. So
Yes.
what energetic work teach me, it's really to, okay, what's happening in a room with a student, stay in a room with the student,
Ex-
I'm not taking it home. And it really teach me to have more balance in my life as well. And
Beautiful.
to, yeah, I love to introduce Reiki to people because as soon as much as it can feel maybe a bit esoteric, it's been, I mean, quite studying by the science as well for Reiki, and like it's one of the most famous modality in terms of energy healing, and it really helped the nervous system to unwind as well. So it's a great It's complementary to any practice that you are doing already, and you don't have anything else to do than just being open and receiving, And it's like in terms of, it's everybody will have a different experience with Reiki. So I don't want to just say, oh, it might be like this or it might be like this, because you work with intention.
Personal,
And
isn't it? Everybody has a bit
yeah,
different response to different things. Like some people enjoy the rain, some people enjoy the summertime, some people enjoy the
yeah,
spring. But
yeah,
yeah, I know that I've been looking at a lot of the studies about energy magnetic fields in the human
yeah,
body and understanding how our energy system sometimes are vibrating at great frequencies some moments, and some moments they just don't vibrate as well as they should. Obviously,
yeah,
based upon distractions and based upon interferences that we have throughout the day. Like I've had a large amount of interferences today, but I did whatever I did to navigate through that. And I think it's through practices like you share, Emmeline, like the yoga that I did is in the past, the biofeedback that I did, the Feldenkrais, and I'm not a practitioner in any of those. But
nice.
those experiences, doesn't matter whether you're a practitioner or not in those experiences, if you do them long enough, you can, and you've reaped some form of rewards, you can
Yeah,
take them. And if you've benefited from them, you've obviously embodied some of it, and you can share it, you can add it to your practice in the way that you share things. And I've been quite lucky to understand that, Emmeline, with you know, if I have no great knowledge about yoga, but when I hear you speak, you kind of resonate and stimulate my mind in the sense of that I can relate to it in the benefits that I got in doing
yeah,
meditation, in doing different breathing, pranayama, to, to to learning to do different nasal breathing, box breathing, to learning to do different poses and stuff like that. And I think my next question is like, you know, we all have different views of health and wellness and that. But as far as what you embody in your practice, what is the most important thing that you think somebody can get out of practicing yoga the way and with the work with you, with the work that you do? What are some of the great benefits that people get?
I would say just a overall like probably sense of well-being, developing awareness and developing like awareness not just in the body but yeah, the body, the mind, and like their own self, and like just I guess
Did you think, I'm just asking you, and I'm
I
just,
yeah
from a personal experience for you, I mean,
I
you've evolved from it so much, and you've obviously, and guys, I'm not going to put you in the deep end, but I think a lot of people like me, or, myself, for example, you kind of go through hard times and down times, and I had an autoimmune condition where I crashed, and I had anemia, and then I had got involved with learning all about the spiritual side rather than just being physical, learning to meditate, learning breath work, learning ice bath. And this is a completely different component. Do you think somewhat that had a part of that had an influence in your direction in what, and you becoming a yoga coach, or in getting involved in Reiki? And if so, how so?
so from my I guess can you just repeat the question for me? Just
The
like
question is, a lot of people go through different circumstances. Sometimes they
yeah
have to feel something traumatic. Could be an event where they got sick, could be an event where they got injured, could be an event where they had a breakup in a relationship or something like that. And then they find themselves embodying something a little more enlightening, a little more powerful than just going out for a run, a little more. And I think that the practice of yoga, the practice
yeah
of the depth of understanding human movement, the understanding of energy magnetic fields, the understanding of embodying what do you call the ability to override your central nervous system, the vagus nerve, and all that stuff. That this didn't come to you and to come to me overnight. What do you think kind of took you? Was it an experience, a hard experience, harsh experience that do you mind sharing, or is that?
no no yeah that's what I was mentioning. I mentioned it already a little bit earlier in the interview. What took me to yoga basically was like I had a burnout, and I've been diagnosed with PTSD through
Yes,
going through like difficult relationship or difficult like
yes,
traumatic things happening in my life, and like a burnout, and that's PTSD to manage was like due to the traumatic event was like yoga wasn't one of the best therapy for me
beautiful.
because when you go to, I mean, not going to the detail, but when you go to PTSD, it's really dysregulation of nervous system, and so also working through different modality with other therapy as well. But for me, actually connecting to my body was more the key, because every time I was talking about it, it was not helping me. I needed to integrate what happened. So like really entering like yoga really changed my life for that. It was cathartic experience for me, where it really helped me to starting to feel safe again, finding that connection to myself, not being so scattered, kind of
Yeah,
like able to, yoga means union, right? So I feel
yes.
like I feel I was really everywhere, and I feel every time I was practicing yoga, I was like, yeah, kind of reconnecting with myself, rediscovering myself, finding, you know, just yeah, finding a more presence as well.
Like
I
you
was
said,
really
it's
that like
more
be
centered.
present in a more
Yeah,
centered.
yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful,
definitely. Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah,
Emma, I know that a lot of people watching this back will probably want to find out a lot about where you are and what is this, what's some of the great work that you do. They'll want to know where they can go and do your classes. I know you spoke about we briefly spoke about your uh, studio in Randwick and classes that you run.
yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that your Randwick studio and some of the classes that you run, or if people want to come individual classes, and they can you share
Yeah.
information about those services that you provide?
Yes, with pleasure. So I'm currently, yeah, in Renwick, and I have a home studio. So basically, I host individual session. I have also a reformer machine. So my practice stretched from Pilates to very restorative practice like Yin and even Reiki. So I do all of that at home. I really do personalize like program for people. Sometimes we'll include movement and breath, and we'll also have a bit more Reiki or like Yin yoga. So I do all of that at home. I do also semi-private, so people can come 2, 3. And I guess next year will come a bit more also of collaboration with people where I will host a bit more song healing as well, merging with movement and breathwork as well. So that's coming up. But I'm actually redoing my website right now, so I can't share my website yet. But like people can find me on Instagram as well, and also. So I will give my so my Instagram is like 𝙇𝙞𝙫𝙚 by Emily.
Yes.
And yeah, they can find all the information on
If
Instagram. Usually I
do
publish
you
there.
have
Also,
Facebook, what's your Facebook? People want to find out a little bit. What's your Facebook? Maybe your they can get in contact. What's your Instagram and those handles? Can you share that with them?
yeah. So like it's Be in Body by Emmeline on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So people can find me there, and I post on what I'm doing every week. I also run a class in Bondi Beach every
Yeah,
Saturday evening at 8.
great class. Great
Yeah,
class. Yes.
at 8:30 a.m. And it's a bit of a fusion. I merge Pilates and yoga in breath work as well, and a little relaxation toward the end. So I
It's a
like
little,
to,
it's a little
yeah.
bit like our retreat. Can you share with the people watching what sort of what can they expect when they come to this weekend's half-day retreat with you down Bondi Beach just before 6 a.m. when we start the yoga session, just before sunrise on the sand? What are they going to expect? What can they expect from the class?
To connect to their breath, to themselves, to be in a beautiful environment as we are going to be in Bondi Beach,
Yes.
to experience movement and breath, synchronizing movement and breath together, um, with some of the yoga pose, and also experiencing a bit of mindfulness meditation towards here.
Amazing. I remember when we first started doing the retreat and you joined us on the beach, and I remember just on the sand, all of us, and it was so beautiful. And the people were walking around, and there was people walking around that wanted to join us. They weren't doing
Yeah,
the retreat, they weren't part of the retreat, but we're doing, and I could sense that they wanted to join us. They're all wondering, wow, how often do they do
yes,
this? And I think this is a great thing. People have become so mindfully aware these days about yoga, about human movement, and about connecting and being more centered,
yeah.
because it really is different from just running and just, doing general exercise, because, you're focusing on your breath work, like you said. But
And it's all connecting to, like it's not individual practice right now. We're gonna be in a retreat, and what also people, as you mentioned there, it's that sense of connection, community, and it's
yes,
organized is great because that's also what people needs more and more, right? Or just like that sense of connection. People likes to,
especially after
we,
COVID,
we want,
today's
yeah.
Today
Sorry.
is so especially after COVID. Today is so different. Like 3 years ago, everybody used to hug, high five, shake hands. Today, people just want to bump, or they won't. In Europe or in back home in Middle East, people kiss you on the cheek and they greet you and hug you and that. Today, it's all a little bit standoffish. It's like good day and that's it, bump, and it's just a. I think COVID had an impact on a lot of the way we did things. We were locked up for so long, and I know that people have come out, but it's never going to be the way it was before. But I think this is just another great opportunity for people to come together and enjoy a moment in a great environment. And like you said, like the human movement, the breath work, the yoga poses. What more do you want to start?
And
Um,
it's all about the experience. People wants to experience, it's like it brings a sense of aliveness for people to be
yes,
out like in just watching the sunrise, like being with other people, connecting through their breath, but connecting energetically to other people too. It's just
correct. Yeah,
like
because we really
together.
do. we really do radiate off each other's energy and frequency. Like you give good energy out, you're bound to get it back, and that's what it's all about. But what a way to start the weekend on Saturday morning to do the yoga session on Bondi Beach. Emmeline, it's been amazing having you here. I'm really looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Just for any of our viewers going to watch this back, this Saturday morning, 5:45, we're meeting at Bondi Beach on Bondi Road by the Bondi Boxing Gym. And then we're going to head down to South Bondi where we're going to have the yoga sessions with Emmeline. It's going to involve the breath work, the human movement, the yoga poses, everything that Emmeline embodies and been talking about over the past 45 minutes in this live Zoom. And then we're going to head back to Bondi Boxing Gym where we're going to have a few beverages, some light drinks, some water and that, where we're going to kick off a human movement workout, but more of an intense workout with boxing and that, because that's my background. We're going to do some functional training exercises and that. And then we're going to conclude that morning activities with a vision session by myself, and we're going to tap into our submodalities, our internal representations, and talk about why it's so important to reset your vagus nerve and override your central nervous system and find ways for you to tap into what you feel you've been missing, any major breakthroughs you want to break through. And that vision session is really empowering. That session is going to be concluded with us going out and having something to eat at Up South Cafe, which are going to provide us with some amazing, delicious food. And then we're going to head up to Nimbus Health and Wellness Center up on Bondi Road. We're all going to motivate each other in doing an ice bath. And we all know the benefits of ice bath. We talk about centering your body and, a great way to override your central nervous system and get you from the synthetic state to a parasympathetic state and into a relaxed state. And just a great chance to unite, connect with other people, communicate, and conclude the session with some acai bowls and detoxing smoothies. It's going to be an amazing day. If you want to learn more, we've only got 2 more spots available, or 2 or 3 more spots available. Give us a call on 0402 622 662, or shoot us a message through Instagram or Facebook, Mayday Ronan's Coaching. Otherwise, it's been so good to have you here tonight, Emmeline. Take care and have an amazing evening. Take care, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm not going to stop it yet. In the recording it will stop. But yeah,
Okay.
look, today we just had a little chat. It's good to talk a little bit. We get to know each other. Emmeline, what I really like about what we're doing and what I'm doing with other people is the ability to connect with the instructors, with other practitioners and stuff like that. And every time I have a session with somebody, it allows me to kind of understand them a little bit better, understand their trajectory, understand what their needs are, understand what they're doing and how it fits into my program. And I'm glad to have you, because you're not one of these people that is overpowering verbally, in boxing, it's needed. In gymnastics, maybe it's needed, but in your environment, in the environment that I wish to provide in my session, because I think when I set up this session, I try to look at what dynamics can I provide from one session to another. And so that's a very gentle, warm, happy, loving environment, welcoming to start the day. And then it moves to boxing, which is a little intense. And I've got their concentration, they've worked, and as they stop and they're a little bit run down and they've had a glass of water and stuff like that, I hit them with the vision session. And the vision session is to me is really empowering. It runs for 25 minutes and they've got their eyes closed, and I talk to them about, the different consequences and what those consequences have cost them in their life, and where do they see themselves 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. And if they continue to do the same thing, if it hasn't been serving its purpose in the past, is it going to be serving in the future?
Yeah.
And if not, why not? And I think there's so many of us, me being a dad, and trying to guide my family, support my family, and step up each day is a challenge within itself, you know. And I see it in the retreat with all these people that come to me, you know. So I think that makes it really unique for me to kind of express that with the work that I do. And you know, from our sessions, we go to a nutritionist. Do you know Nikki, the lady that works next door at the a health emporium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
so she comes in and she talks about nutrition, and she's like an encyclopedia. She'll talk about gut health. She'll talk about um whatever you want to talk about, you know. And
She's great.
she's lovely. And then there's a guy called David Pemberton that comes in and talks about the Batiko breathing method from Patrick McEwen. So he'll strictly talk about nasal breathing, and he'll tell you things such as uh Roger Federer was he has 12 hours of sleep every night, and when he competes, he always takes a breath coach with him on tour and a sleep deprivation specialist. The guy's two in one, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
and that is so important. And you know, like one of the interesting studies that they did many years ago was they did a test, I think, in Miami, Florida, about the best tennis players in the world. They took the 100 best tennis players in the world, and they had an exam for the best 10 and the best 100, and all of them, they wanted to find out who trained the hardest, who was fastest, who was strongest, and what differences, what kind of created that separation between the top 10 and the other 90. And they found out that they all train as hard as each other. They all pushed weight as much as each other. They're all cardiovascularly fit and strong as each other. But the ones that really did well, their minds behave differently. Their ability
Oh
to
wow.
quality sleep,
Yes.
ability to
I think
breathe.
it's so
And
interesting.
it's intriguing. And you know, sometimes what separates the best from semi-pro, the
Yeah.
best is just breath work, yoga. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying it because you do yoga, but
No,
it's
no.
little
Yeah.
thing. It's the cold showers. It's going to sleep at 9:30 at night and not going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's these little habitual patterns that people are able to embody through
Yeah.
their days, and it become part of their life. You know,
Yeah.
because really, people are not their behaviors. They're a product of
Yes.
their environment, you know. And I think that exam that they had for all these guys was just the perfect example, you know.
It's so, thank you for sharing first, because I find it fascinating,
Thanks.
and it's interesting to see that also, because people are looking up a lot to athlete, or trying to get like health is like the new wealth, right? Like as we said
Yes,
today, and I mean, living in Bondi, it's probably always been a little bit, but like it's
it has all been, yeah, it's always been a little bit like that, hasn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but it's just also very interesting to see how they are pushing the study into, I mean, the science of breathing, the science like of yoga, and like the different things that, yeah, they can show now, you know, after like 20 or 30 years of study, or like studying high athletes and incorporating different, understanding the holistic. That's the things
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to talk about as well. It's like
Holistic.
that's holistic. Like
Yes.
we're not just like food, or like posture, or like, you know, like, but yeah, it's just a whole human,
It's
right, being, and like
it's so much because, you know, like, you know, you mentioned something really interesting. One of the things I really am fascinated by about now is I'm really fascinated about the energy magnetic fields, but energy magnetic
yeah,
fields and the frequencies that running through our body are a product of our environment, a product of what we put in our body, a product of the stress that we accumulate, a product of
yeah,
whatever. And then our frequencies are firing at different, you know, levels. But
yeah.
the other
And
one,
it's interesting to ask
sorry.
about I didn't expect you to ask so much about the Reiki, so I think I was a little bit short in reply, because I'm like, you might, and we get to know each other tonight, it's true as well,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
because
Yeah, yeah.
like, so interesting that I can see how much you touch in different field, and how you like to incorporate different practitioner in your retreat, as you mentioned what was going on the whole day, you know, and like
Yes, yes.
during the whole day, and I'm like, this is great. And I think it's very, you really seems to understand how, you know, everything works together, you know, and it's,
It does. You know, as a parent, and this is where another part of me where I'm allowing my mind to just wander and explore, and
yeah,
I'm healing at the same time because I think we all have some form of trauma, whether it be relationships, whether it be childhood needs that weren't met, that things weren't able to buy. My parents couldn't buy me anything because we came
mm,
from a poor background, and you know, we slept five people to a bed when we came to Australia. My mum and dad couldn't get a job because they couldn't speak English. So I was
yeah,
supposed to go out and collect aluminium cans, wash cars, cut grass, clean people's houses, paint people's houses. And I was knocking on doors from one place to another. And I finally got a paper job because with a wheelbarrow. I was pushing a wheelbarrow around selling papers and that. And I was and for years my dad and mum couldn't really get a job, you know. Uh,
yeah,
but I think we all have different trauma. And in society, whether they like it or not, we're looking for some form of validation. And one of
yeah,
the topic that I'm heading towards, as I'm about to tell you, is one that I'm super fascinated with. And I think what makes me so fascinated about it is my past, and also the fact that I'm a dad. And the topic is the three stages of human growth. I can really break it down to six, but if you talk about the imprint period, our imprint period is like the Irish say, if you keep a child for, you've got him for 5 years, you have him for life because you imprint that child's modalities, you input data into that child's computer, you know, the mind. So
yeah,
I think that period where we're able to imprint so much information as role models, as parents, and as supervisors, and the responsibility that comes with that is incredible. So I'm seeing that from a different light than I ever did before because I've never been until I became a parent, to be honest with you. But and then the second period, and I'm really passionate about speaking about this because the second period, you talk about your development period from the age of like 7 to the age of 13. And that is a period where, like, you know, you're at school, you look up to school teachers more than you look up to your mums and dads because you literally spend more time with them. You think about it. You spend
yeah,
8 hours at school, 8 hours in bed, or 10 hours in bed because you're that young. And then you spend a couple of hours with dad and mum. You see them buy dinner, breakfast, and you hang out on the weekend or something, and that's it. But you spend more time with teachers and your football coach, your soccer coach, your cricket coach, netball coach.
yeah,
And that way, those people with a place of authority, you kind of take advice from them and they become like somewhat, especially if you have a connection with them, role models,
yeah,
have an influence on your life. But yeah, and then, you know, Emily, and then from that period, we move on to a period called the socializing period. And this is where it really gets me because from the age of about I think 13 to 21. This is our socializing period where we develop, we reach puberty, where we meet girls, meet boys, boys meet girls, or whatever preferences you wish to make, whatever ideology you have on society, whether it
yeah,
be political, whether it be personal, and that. This is the period where you start choosing whether which direction you want to go. And I
yeah.
think when I
Your
look
sense of self, like identity, it's like at that time, right? Where you just kind of develop a bit more, yeah, yourself,
and
and
it's, yeah, and your identity. And I think I see that in my kids now. And sometimes I have to put on the brakes and I have
yeah,
to say, wow, I've got to fix this up. Or, you know, I came back from work today and my son cleaned his car and he cleaned my car. And I didn't ask him. Emmeline, I didn't even ask him. I drive the car and my son is texting people for me. He's telling people to make sure they're on time for the personal training and that. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Wow.
yeah,
My daughter's into gymnastics and human movement. She's Emily, you will love her. You will love her. She that, but and I just I think to myself like, yeah, it is hard. It is hard, Emily, you know. But sometimes we really have to be reminded, and it takes opportunities like that or moments like that for us to just stop and say, I'm
yeah,
I'm doing okay as a dad. I could be doing better, but I'm
yeah.
okay, you know?
I think it's so much pressure parents put on themselves. It's also, I think we are also in a bigger, in like bigger spectrum in transition in between generation.
Yes,
Also, where like parents are more aware, like you are very self-aware. You know,
yes.
like, I even talk to my mom sometimes. She's like, "Oh my God, you think too much."
You've
And it's
seen
not
too
about,
much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she's like, for me, like I never asked the question, do I want a kid? For me, I'm a generation where I'm
Yes,
asking if I put a kids in the world, But
yes.
for my mom, it was not even a question we were asking. It was normal. So
Yeah,
the awareness, the development of also the, I guess, like in the whole like spectrum of things, it's like we also, the awareness of the planet is different today. It's
it
like it's
is.
constantly evolving like us. So we have like different responsibility, or we feel differently, about things that will influence and the kids, I mean, our kids, I say my kids, or if I have one day, they will have a different experience. And it's also being able to pass from, you know different generation, but trying to also, I think, for example, for you probably are much more aware than sometimes certain things, and you want different things for your kid. You want the best for your kid. Every parent wants the best for their kids, and they all do what they can, and I think that all parents always mean well. It's just
I
like,
think so. Even if they got it wrong, they meant well.
yeah.
And look, my dad keeps yelling at me and that.
Yeah, I think it's the hardest one to be when I see parents. I've been a stepmom for like 5 years. I was with someone who had kids. I saw them growing up. I'm still close to them. They are more in their late teenager age now and like young adults. So it's a bit different. But
Yes.
like, I'm like, oh my God, when I was just a stepmom, I'm like, this is the hardest job. I could see the parents, I could see my ex-partner, his ex-wife, like what they were going through, and I'm like, wow, it's like it's a journey. It's like
But even like what you said, like I'll be honest with you, I'm talking a completely different subject. I know we started this session on yoga and stuff like that.
yeah,
And when people talk about like being involved in a relationship, and this is something completely different, Emmeline, and I'm just sharing with you off the cuff, being involved with somebody who has kids to someone else, and that relationship with that ex-partner that they were with, it's over. The mindfulness to be able to accommodate that
yeah,
requires a certain personality. And I'll tell you something, I was 29, 28, 28, 29 before I left to New Zealand when I bought my first gym in New Zealand. And I
yeah,
bought into a really big gym, and I learned a really tough lesson for it because I put everything in, I lost everything, and I came back and started from scratch. But I was going out with a girl that had a baby to someone else, and we were in love, and I think part of the reason was because he kept ringing. When I rang her, he was picking up the phone, and I didn't understand it. I was too naive to understand that
yeah,
that's the child's father and he's allowed to be around and stuff like that. But it was more what he was saying to me on the phone, like, what are you ringing for and all that sort of stuff, that I realized to myself, and this is my mum said to say to me every time when she was alive, you see life through rose-colored glasses. It's not always that way. And I actually wanted them to be together. I didn't want to, I wanted them to be together. It's not because I didn't love her. Like,
yeah,
that's the father of your child. I want you to be together.
yes, yeah.
And then
No, I can see where it's like sometimes I mean, it's like different experience. Like it's like, yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. It depends also how people have been dealing with themselves and how long they've been separated. It's a lot of things when you are what
yeah,
you never break. It's like they have a family system, and family system are strong. For me, to my own experience, these people, when they were coming together, they were a family system that was different than when I was with the kids, my ex-partner by himself. We were a different family system. But like as soon as they were like his ex-wife was there and we were doing Christmas, we were quite open on things. You could see like, things coming up. Like, I mean, I could see things like people interacting differently with each other, the kids dynamic, and their whole family system at play. And sometimes it's been hard, but that's why I realized that like every system, whatever like it is, society system or like
yeah.
family system are really, really hard to change.